Perfect.
Yay.
Yay. I did it right this time.
I know. We hit the button. We did not forget to hit record.
That's a good thing.
Wonderful. I know. So how are you, Joe?
Awesome.
Are we ready? Everybody got drinks?
I got drinks. I
in their potty breaks?
Yeah, I have my drink in a cup so I don't get shamed anymore.
Yay, we match.
We match.
Let me go grab a drink real quick.
Okay.
All right. We match. The boys will be so proud that we're using their mugs.
I made sure to keep it clean so that I could use it today.
Cat, get out of my way.
That cat, man. What's the cat's name? We need to know.
It's the only thing I can't control is my cat.
What's the cat's name, Joe?
Calypso.
Calypso.
I have two of them. And the other one is named Joby.
Joby.
And Calypso is kind of a multicolored mess.
Yeah, we have 8 cats. I'm allergic to every single one of them.
Wow.
Yeah. Zyrtec D and I are best friends. Three, two, 1. Welcome back to another episode of Shit That Goes On Our Heads. I'm G-Rex with my awesome partner, Dirty Skittles, and today we have an amazing guest, Joe. Hey, Joe, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to hear your story, Joe.
I'm excited to tell my story. A little bit nervous because I've never told my story before, except to professionals and to other people in the mental ward.
We are far from professionals. Far from.
Probably closer to the people in the mental ward.
Yeah.
Okay, well, at least I'm in a good company then.
Yes. We can guarantee you a good company. Yes. Don't be nervous. It's like we're just a group of humans talking, sharing our stories.
That's right.
Where do you want to start, Joe? Where does it begin?
Well, it begins in 2008. That's not when I was born or anything. That's just when my...
Because I was going to say, if you were born in 2008, then you're young.
Yeah, no, my mental health journey started in 2008, and I was diagnosed bipolar, and that story is rather interesting because of what happened and what occurred. It was just came on me kind of suddenly. I found myself calling 911 and threatening the president of the United States. And I would not recommend this to people to do. Not a thing to do, but you will get quick service by the police department. I lived in a 12-story secured building at the time, and they were at my door in under a minute. Not wanting to be let in the security door downstairs, but actually at my door in under a minute. Yeah, it was very quick. And the cops came in and talked to me for a few minutes, probably about 15 minutes or so. And then they took me to the hospital and checked me into the mental ward, into the lockdown facility. I was there for 3 days, and the doctor who was treating me didn't even realize the Secret Service were going to come talk to me or anything. And I said, "Oh no, they'll be talking to me." Sure enough, within that 3 days, about 2.5 days into it, the Secret Service showed up to talk to me and figure out why I did that and what was going on. Probably talked to me for about another 10 or 15 minutes or so with a bunch of other people in the room that I didn't realize were in the room. I mean, I realized there were a bunch of people in the room, probably about 10 people or so, observing this meeting. And it was, that's when I realized I was really in the shit, and had to do kind of some fast talking to kind of get myself out of this shit a little bit.
I mean, what do you say?
Yeah, like, were
to
you
get out of there?
scared? I would have been scared shitless.
Not really. Not really. I kind of knew what was going to happen. I wasn't really that nervous or anything about, talking to the Secret Service or anything. And I want to say that they're a bunch of very nice guys. At least the one I talked to, he was very nice and friendly and non-confrontational and just it was just an interview. He just wanted to find out who I was and more about me and why I threatened the president. Yeah, then they let me go. My mom picked me up and everything was good. And then maybe a month and a half later, I ended up in the mental ward again, which I can't really talk about too much as far as what happened and stuff. All I can really say is I had to, against medical advice, check myself out of the mental ward because they gave me too much medication. So I had to do that for my own safety, and kind of made me afraid of the mental ward after that, to where I didn't want to go back.
Did you find that, like, when you were put in the mental ward, that they weren't really talking to you so much, but they were pushing more meds towards you?
It was both. There was a lot of talk. There's a lot of groups. That's the mental ward. There's a lot of groups and stuff like that you can participate in or not. It's purely voluntary. It's up to you. The meds are also voluntary. So they say unless you get, combative or something, and then, they can restrain you and do what they have to do to make you not so combative. Luckily, I was never that way in the mental ward, so I never got that treatment. And as far as the overdose goes, I don't know if it was just a mistake or nobody caught it or whatever, but yeah, it was not a good scene. And then I ended up in the mental ward again, probably a year or so later, maybe 2 years later, something like that. I still had this deathly fear of the mental ward, but I realized I need these people. I have a mental illness, and it took me a good probably 6 to 9 months to a year and a half to kind of come to terms with the whole mental illness and deciding I had an issue, which is a bipolar 1 with psychosis. So
go ahead. I was like, I have so many questions, Joe. So if at any point I ask you something that you're like, I don't want to talk about that, just feel free to stop me.
yeah, go ahead.
So throughout your life, before you got your diagnosis, was this a pattern where you would have these, I guess, episodes, if that's the right word?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I had another run-in with a president. Before I threatened a president, I actually cussed out Bill Clinton to his face back in '95 on the street. And so I would say there's been kind of half-cocked, to say the least. So my mouth gets me in trouble. I just figured it was just another one of my times of my mouth getting me in trouble and, having to dig out of it with the whole threatening of the president. I didn't think anything of being bipolar or anything, but that's the diagnosis they gave me. So that's the diagnosis I had to accept and, go on medication and stuff, which is always a fun thing to do and get dialed in on and stuff. And luckily I got dialed in pretty early, so I didn't have too much of a roller coaster ride with the medications. They did a little bit, not too bad. A pretty good psychiatrist that knew what they were doing and gave me the right cocktail. So
That's good. So in those moments, like when you're staring at, like you mentioned, Bill Clinton, and you're saying what you're saying, are you present in that moment? Like, do you like think back like, oh shit, what did I just do?
Oh, I'm fully present in the moment. And it's not till later I'm like, what the fuck did I just do? You know,
Okay.
but that's far after the fact. And it's funny because even now I'm learning from that situation. So I do try to learn from these situations that I find myself in, even if it's, hey, don't do that again. Hey, wait, you did it again. What are you doing? Uh, so it's like, why do you keep doing the things you do? I don't know. It's interesting just the way the brain works and processes stuff that we learn from really the failures more than we do the successes of our
That's
lives.
true. That's true. I mean, it's hard, right? To look back on like something that wasn't a success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it took me a long time to get to that point. I'm finally there though. I'm looking at my failures and thinking, what a wonderful thing that was.
Yeah. I mean, but it is, right? So I guess what was the breaking point for you where you realized, okay, I do need to take my mental health, like what that diagnosis is, into consideration?
It was probably not too long after coming out of the mental ward the third time or fourth time, something like that, where that's when the people in the mental ward just told me, hey, you're sick and you need to get better. And this is where you get better. Them telling me that really, really kind of eased my mind. I don't know why, but it just did. And I think I needed to hear that to ease my mind and be able to deal with everything I was going through or have been going through. My mom passed away in the beginning of all this happening. So I was dealing with that as well. So that was very difficult. She died rather suddenly, and that was also a very kind of made my paranoia go through the roof a little bit, just because of what happened and everything.
Yeah.
That sounds really hard.
When I go delusional, I tend to think I work for the government and weird stuff like that. So I tend to be investigated by the government or think I'm being investigated by the government. It's one of those investigations you wouldn't know is happening. So,
Oh, like one of those super secret covert operations. Yeah.
Yes. So it's kind of interesting and something I had to always keep in the back of my mind, that is the man watching me. And even now, giving this interview, talking around things and, not giving you the full complete story because I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. So, Joe, I do have a question. I mean, do you kind of wish that your diagnosis had come earlier on in life, or were you comfortable with the diagnosis when it was given to you?
I think I would have dealt with it a little bit better, maybe if it was earlier in life. Maybe. No, actually, I'm happy with when it happened. And a lot of bipolar diagnoses happen later in life. A lot of them happen around the age of between 25 and 32. And I was like 24 at the time.
That's crazy.
25.
So since your diagnosis and understanding that you have this bipolar diagnosis, I guess, hate to say the word so many times, but since that has happened, what tools and treatment, like what does that look like for you on a day-to-day basis?
I have a psychologist. I talk to him every couple of months to kind of check in and see how things are going, make sure I'm taking my meds and make sure I'm stable on my meds and that kind of thing. And I have a psychiatrist. I meet with him every 3 to 6 months. It's been about every 6 months now that I'm stabilized on my meds. When I come out of the mental ward, I meet with them a little bit more often, like on a monthly basis, or in the case of the psychiatrist on a couple month basis. So yeah, it gets to be pretty routine after a while once you get in kind of the swing of things and get dialed in. But it's really that dialed in process that takes so much time. And some people never get dialed in and they're always on the slippery slope. And some people are like me and have been stable for, or fairly stable for, 5 years plus.
Yeah. So when you say dialed in, is it learning to be self-aware? And like, what is dialed in?
Dialed in with your medication and then there is, the self-awareness part of it, realizing what triggers are. Like for me, I had to stop reading governmental books for a few years before I could go back to reading that kind of stuff. I had to stop reading military fiction stuff too, for the same reason. And stress, I had to really watch my stress level and lower my stress level. I would say that's probably the number one thing is to lower your stress level, because that's what triggers most people is a lot of stress.
And how do you manage your stress these days? Sorry, Dirty Skittles.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. So we're on the same page.
Well, I do meditate, and that helps out quite a bit. I don't formally meditate anymore. I did meditate every day for about 30 to 45 minutes a day for a while, a number of years. But now I do more of a subconscious meditation. So when I find myself getting stressed or whatever, I just try to get calm and focus myself into my breathing and just relax. And if that doesn't work, then I have to take medication, which I haven't had to do in a long time, because I'm able to control it most of the time through meditation and just kind of controlling my thoughts and realizing what they are and not let them run away with themselves. But the bipolar, your mind is constantly running things. And, for me, it's different scenarios of walking down the street or, interactions in hotel restaurants or something, or, I don't know. I run weird scenarios through my head sometimes just to keep it occupied so it doesn't focus on one thing.
And how has this affected like your work life? Like, have you had like any problems like with your going to work or with lashing out at like coworkers or anything like that?
Yeah, I did. And I was volunteering at a place and I had a mental breakdown and they let me come back, but then they hired somebody else, kind of pushed me out, which was okay. I understand why they did it. So I would say it has affected me. I haven't really worked since then. And that's been since 2008. I'm on Social Security most of the time. I get Social Security. So that's how I support myself. Trying to be a professional speaker, that's what I'm trying to do now. So we shall see how that goes.
Is your plan to continue to share your story through your professional speaking?
No, I want to do situational awareness talks.
Ooh,
so
I like that.
I want to talk about situational awareness and being more situationally aware and through my experiences in life, because I haven't been situationally aware in the past. It's gotten me into some trouble. So
yeah,
I can totally understand that.
yeah. I think we all could take that lesson from you, Joe.
Yeah, Joe, let me know.
Sign me up.
Yeah, let us know when you do that, because like I don't ever want to go back and revisit the day that I stood up in the middle of the office and told everybody they were a bunch of fuckers. Because it really did happen. I think Dirty Skittles was there the day that happened.
I heard about it.
You heard about it, yeah.
I didn't actually hear you, but I heard about it.
It was not my most professional moment.
No, I can imagine not.
So, Joe, what so far has been the hardest lesson to learn through your journey?
When to keep my mouth shut. I'm still learning it because my mouth just likes to speak and my brain doesn't want it to. And sometimes I try to think twice and speak once, but usually it's let's speak twice and only think once. So
So if you could imagine somebody taking your same journey, what advice would you give to them?
I would say be more aware of the underlying situation, not the top of the situation, but what's below the situation. What's the underpinnings of the situation, and what are you to learn from it?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so do I, because you know what? We've all been there.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I can't imagine totally. So I apologize if my questions are so like off the wall, right? But I can't imagine going through something like that you've shared with us, right? Like I'm very curious about it, but I don't know how much to ask. Like I'm like, in that moment when you're doing, you're yelling or threatening president, is it very real to you, right? Like you're acting out of a real emotion that's happening. Like, is it a reality that you're living in that you believe?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I remember most of what happened. At least the highlights. My friends remember more. But yeah, it was real and in the moment. And I kind of at one point was like, what did you just do? But then I just went back to yelling. So
yeah, it has to be hard.
It's when, I probably realized subconsciously something was going on that,
yeah,
it's just trying to get some help.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like a control freak, right? Especially with myself. So I can't imagine how I would react in that scenario. Like, I feel like if you are in that moment and it's real for you, like it makes sense to react a certain way, but
yeah.
In retrospect and in hindsight, looking back, that has to be difficult, to see the difference.
Yeah, for sure. Like, we all say that hindsight is 20/20, but like when you can't even catch yourself in that moment, right? Because we all do it. We all speak before we think. But when you've caught yourself and you're on the other side of that, like, I hope you don't like continually beat yourself up, right? Because that doesn't help either.
No, and I did for a while, but you have to get over that eventually and move forward.
And I think it's so interesting. So many individuals that we get to talk to when we ask, like, what are you doing? What tools are you using? Meditation. Like, I find that so fast. I'm like, I should maybe try to meditate because everybody says meditation.
Yeah, it's not easy to start, but once you get into it, it just starts to flow. And and just start with 5 minutes a day, and then the next week move it up to 7 minutes a day, and then 9 minutes, and then 11, and go up to 15 minutes, and do that for maybe a week or two.
I can't even get past 3 minutes. Okay,
well, then if that's all you can do.
I have a little bit of ADHD. I'm like, oh, like a squirrel.
But Russell Simmons has a couple of books on meditation. He's the guy that did the Def Comedy Jam back in the 90s.
I remember.
And he said, I used to meditate at 7 a.m. every morning across the street from the World Trade Center when they were constructing the Freedom Tower. And he said, if I could do that, anybody can meditate anywhere.
Yeah, I can imagine. Man. So I have one last question. You had mentioned earlier on that you had to stop reading certain books and watching certain movies or documentaries. Have you had to learn to set like any personal boundaries with individuals?
Not really, because I don't have any personal boundaries myself. I'm a pretty free-willing individual, so I don't really set boundaries for myself. I want to experience everything there is to experience in life. I would just say I don't watch as much TV anymore. That's really the only boundary I've set for myself. I don't saturate myself with the governmental stuff anymore. I'll read it here and there, but I won't read it back to back.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
I'd say that's probably about the only thing I've done, and watch my stress level. Other than that,
do the cats help with your stress level?
Oh yeah,
except for like when they're being little assholes, because cats are little assholes.
Yeah, they are, but they're lovable little assholes.
Yeah, thank God they can't talk back, right? But they do have like claws that will like scratch your eyes out. So
yes, they do.
Calypso and Joby, right?
Yeah.
Calypso and Joby.
Plus Calypso and Joby. You got any other questions, G-Rex?
No, I am good.
So Joe. Sorry, I saw the K and I was like, Joe, is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with? Like what message do you want to put out there for anybody listening and who could relate to your story?
Oh, I just want to say, whatever happens in the mental ward, just let it happen. I mean, unless they are, there is something seriously wrong that, they're trying to overdose you or whatever, that then you need to self-advocate for yourself. But you really need to let them do their work and go to the groups and get what you can out of them, and come back a better person, because there will be one day that they unlock that door and let you out. So you need to be ready for it, because it's a big bad world out here, and being behind that locked door is Disneyland.
Wow.
And it's a controlled environment.
Yeah.
You're told what to do. You're told where to eat. You're told when to take your meds. And out here, you're not. And you have to do that all on your own or get help from someone. And luckily, I've had, both help from myself and help from people around me. So,
yeah, I was just going to ask, do you have a really good support system around you now?
I do. It's pretty good. I have, some of it's, not as good as it could be, but, I could stabilize that a little bit better. So, but it's for what it is. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. We'll need to check in with you later.
Yeah.
As your journey progresses. I don't want to lose touch with you. I want to know.
Yeah, I want to know more, Joe.
What happens next? And I hope that you do the public speaking.
Yeah, can you sign us up? Because we can tell you what not to do.
Yeah.
Don't say fuckers.
don't stand up in the middle of your office and call everybody a bunch of fuckers, because you immediately regret it.
Yeah, it's true.
No, but I mean, on a serious note, yeah, I want to check back in with you. I feel like the more we get to meet people and we get to hear everyone's stories, we invest.
Yeah,
become part of our family, and we want to see the success, right? So like we want to hear what happens next, and for sure we'll need to check back in.
Yeah, you're number 56 of the people that are new to us. So,
oh, okay.
Now you're part of the family.
Well, I'm number 56 on the list. Great.
I was like, what is that?
Such a high priority. I love it.
Well, I was counting back the number of episodes. We're at like episode number 58 now. Like a couple of people we interviewed, we knew.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Remember,
yeah,
we did have family and friends.
Yeah, for a while.
Yeah,
there was comfort there. You know,
there was comfort. Now we broadened our horizons.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Joe. I appreciate you sharing your story. Honestly,
yeah, I do too.
I'm sorry if I asked anything that was weird or.
Oh, not at all.
I appreciate you.
Not at all. I had 4 stepdads as a kid, so there's pretty much nothing I want to talk about. My mom was a nurse, so.
Okay.
There's nothing we should talk about in my family.
Nothing sacred. Nothing.
No, nothing. Nothing at all.
Oh, Joe. Hi, all. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I'm G-Rex.
And I'm Dirty Skittles.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. We'd love to listen to your feedback.
We can't do this without you guys. It's okay to be not okay. Just make sure you're talking to someone.